Let's go back to a guest we brought in. There's a term that we've heard a lot of. It's 25th Amendment, and it's not something that you throw around wantonly. This is a serious measure here. Let's talk about it. Georgetown law professor David Super is joining us right now. 25th Amendment is something that has been brought up by the likes of Nancy Pelosi in the past, and many people on the Democratic side. Talk us through what that is and why this is getting traction today.
The 25th Amendment is a procedure that was established for removing temporarily or permanently a president who is incapable of doing their job. It is not impeachment. It is a method of dealing with incapacity. Typically, that would involve an incapacity such as a coma or unconsciousness. Had President Kennedy survived his assassination attempt, been unable to govern, this would be the procedure that would have been used to handle his situation. The Democrats are suggesting that the president we have now is in a similar position.
You see, you mentioned the Democrats, Terry McAuliffe, former governor of Virginia, calling for the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment. What would be the proper course if they were to actually attempt this?
The 25th Amendment requires the vice president and the majority of the president's cabinet to submit a finding that the president is incapable of doing his job. If that happens, the president is temporarily removed from office unless the president responds by saying that he is in fact capable of doing his job. In that event, the matter is decided by Congress, and the president is allowed to continue doing his job unless 2/3 of both the House and the Senate concur with the vice president that the president is not capable of doing his job.
What was the impetus for passing this, and has it been invoked in the past?
It has not been invoked in any very formal way in the past. There was some talk that this was applicable when President Reagan was shot and was undergoing surgery. It was never really pressed at that point. But President Reagan resumed his powers very shortly thereafter, and there was never much question. This has never been conceived of, I think, as a way of dealing with an unsatisfactory president. That's what impeachment is for, but rather for a president who is genuinely incapable of doing his job.
Well, there seems to be a lot of people, especially in Congress, who believe that the president's doing and going about his job is unsatisfactory. We just saw Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling for impeachment. The president already one time impeached. Would there be any sort of way or fashion that you could see in the next 14 days that President Trump could be impeached yet again?
There's nothing that requires impeachment to take a lot of time. They could theoretically impeach him tonight. It would require a majority vote in the House and 2/3 in the Senate. I don't think the senators want to vote to remove this president, and I don't think Speaker Pelosi wants to waste the House's time on a futile impeachment. But if enough members of the Senate Republican caucus felt it important to move President Trump out and to have Vice President Pence serve the rest of his term, they could certainly do that.
And look, let's be honest about the climate we find ourselves in, because I was just going through who was calling for the invocation of the 25th Amendment, which includes the likes of Congresswoman Jackie Speer of California, Congressman Charlie Crist of Florida, many former cabinet members, including Robert Reich, who was the labor secretary under Bill Clinton. There's a common thread here, and they're all Democrats. And I wonder, in a situation like this, are we so fractured that just the mention of it would not pass any muster from people on the president's side, because it's just seen as a way to remove, as you said, at least to this point, it's always been mentioned to remove an unsatisfactory president, to use your language?
I think the 25th Amendment is a rhetorical device that allows people to suggest that the president is not well. Under some circumstances, people have found that politically advantageous. But I don't think it was built for this situation. And it wouldn't work in this situation because the president would immediately certify that he is capable of doing his job. If you had 2/3 of the Senate or 2/3 of the House willing to remove him, then impeachment would be the appropriate method. He knows what he's doing. We can each reach our own judgment about whether what he's doing is appropriate, but the impeachment is the device for dealing with inappropriate presidents. The 25th Amendment is for incapacitated presidents.
All right. Professor David Super from Georgetown Law. Hey, I appreciate the insight. And really, this is just something that has been brought up by many leaders, and it was worth just explaining what that is to our audience at home. Thank you, sir.